All right, so basically, I've pulled up a beat here that I made recently. Reason I chose this beat specifically is because I did like a lot of work on the kick, and by a lot of work, I don't mean like a ton of different plugins, but the plugins that I used and the compression that I used was pretty significant in how the kick punched through the mix. So I'll play this beat for you, or a snippet of it at least, with no plugins on the kick, so just dry. And then I'll kind of show you what it sounds like with the compression, and then I'll kind of explain why I did what I did, and we'll go over VCA and FET compression and sort of what that does. So yeah, I'll go ahead and play the beat for you now. So as we can tell, the kick is pretty prominent in what it's supposed to be doing in this beat. However, without the plugins active, it just sounds kind of weak, right? So it doesn't really pop through the mix. You can hear it, but you can't really feel it. And I think that's the big difference in a well-mixed song, specifically in hip hop and EDM, and one that's mixed by kind of an amateurish kind of bedroom producer, if you will. So I'll kind of go through some of the plugins that I've used, and there really aren't many. There's EQ, there's compression, and then I've used a clipper, which is the Cymatics Diablo clipper. So basically, I've pulled up two different compressors here for you to kind of show you what each of these do. So we've got a VCA compressor here, which I'm using the API 2500. That's a pretty common compressor. VCA compressors are good whenever you need transparent compression without a lot of color added to it. So not a lot of saturation, not a lot of additional sound or character. So the API 2500 is a great compressor if you want that or if you need that. So I'll basically isolate the kick and the 808 and show you some of the differences in the sound here. So this is dry. It just sounds kind of weak, right? So basically with VCA compressors, you're going to want to shoot for anywhere between like 3 and 10 dB of gain reduction. Now you have some control over attack time here, and with attack time with kicks, you can shoot for a quick attack time, so a millisecond or less. The problem with that quick of an attack is that it can squish the kick too quickly, and the transient sounds won't come out. So the main part of the kick that you want to hear, which is the beginning of the transient part, can be squished down too quickly, and it can sound almost too controlled. So the good thing with VCA compressors here is that you have control over that. So if I am using a VCA compressor, I like to shoot for a slower attack time. So between like 3 and 10 milliseconds. Now, if you do this, you have to make sure that you're controlling it on the back end. So I use a slightly higher ratio. So you can go anywhere between 4 and 10 as far as your ratio is concerned. And then for VCA compressors or FET compressors, you're going to want to shoot for a quick release time, because you don't want the compressor continuing to compress if you have another kick coming up soon. So most especially if you have quick kick drums in quick succession, then you're going to want to have the really the fastest release time you can shoot for. So I have it at the quickest setting here, just 0.05. So slow attack time, fairly high ratio, and fast release is what you're going to shoot for VCA. So I'll play the difference between the dry kick sound and the processed one here. I'm going to throw in the compressor. immediately has more punch to it. And it's not even just about the volume of the kick, because without the compressor, you could turn up the levels and the volume. It's more about the feel the compressor adds, the punch that's going to really like cut through a mix. So if you're having trouble with your kick cutting through or being heard in the mix, you're going to want to shoot for a VCA compressor with these settings roundabout and crank it up and let it punch through. So I'll play it one more time with the VCA compressor with no processing here. Throw the compressor in. Big difference. All right, so now that we've talked about our first line of compressors, VCA compressors, let's move on to the second and more prominently used line of compressors, which is FET compressors. The most well-known FET compressor is generally the 1176 model, or if you're using like Waves plugins, for example, it would be the CLA76. So there are tons of different emulators for this type of compressor, just because it's so commonly used. So anything that you see that ends in 76 is probably going to be an 1176 emulation. So I'm going to be using the CLA76 myself. This is the line of compressors that I like to use for my kicks for the most part. These are known for having a really quick attack and release time. So they're really good for drums. They're really good for controlling transient sounds with drums or vocals specifically. And you'll most commonly see them used on those two things. So I'll do the same thing here where I'll play the dry kick within the context of the mix. Then I'll play the FET compressor, the 76 model, in the mix as well. And then we'll kind of get to the nitty gritty and look at some settings and how we can best use this. So again, without any compression, the kick just doesn't pop through. So let's play sort of that same snippet with the 76 model engaged, and then I'll go over the settings that I've used and why. All right, so one thing you'll notice with FET compressors over VCA compressors is the main difference is going to be in how the drum is compressed and kind of what that manifests in sound-wise. So with FET compressors, because the attack time is so short, that you'll have, generally speaking, a more well-controlled kick sound, which is great for hip-hop and EDM specifically, because it leads to more consistency in how the kick pops through the mix. So where VCA compressors have more options and can create kind of a punchier sound, that's not always wanted or needed within the context of a mix. A lot of the times FET compressors and their consistency in controlling those initial transients is going to be more commonly used. So basically, with the 76 model pulled up here, you can see the settings that I've implemented. Um, as far as the 76 model, you have basically an input, an attack, a release setting, a ratio, just like the VCA, and an output. So you don't have as many options here. I've gone with the bluey model, which has a bit more saturation and a bit more color to it than the blacky model, but either one is usable for kicks. I've shot for around 3 dB of compression here, and that's just a personal preference for me. So, whereas with the VCA models, you can go up to like 10 dB of compression. It's not usually good to do so with FET compressors just because it controls the transients so much that when you get to that level of compression, it can almost sound like flat and squished, which is not what we generally want to shoot for. So I've shot for around 3 dB of compression. I've basically increased the volume here with the output just a tad bit. But the main thing that you're going to want to customize with these FET compressors is the attack and release time. So unlike other compressor models, with these FET or the 76 model in particular, the attack time is not, it's basically backward, right? So the higher the number here, the quicker the attack time. So, whereas with a VCA model, this may be like 1 millisecond or 7 milliseconds. It's not that way with FETs. So the quickest attack and release time is going to be the highest number. And then, of course, the slowest would be the lowest number. So I've shot for about halfway here on the scale. The slowest release time on these 76 models is about 1 millisecond, which would be this one number here. So I'm about at a half millisecond attack time. And then I've shot, of course, for the quickest release time, like I said before. Similarly, the ratio is inverse as well, in that 4 is the highest ratio you can have, and then 20 is the lowest. So basically opposite what you would expect with other compressors. So I've shot for the highest ratio, about mid attack time, and really, really quick release time. And of course, I've controlled the volume here. So I'll play dry kick in 808 along with the VCA and then the FET so you can hear the differences between the three. Okay, so that was dry. Pardon the slight delay that I'm having to use here with OBS. And I'll play the VCA for you now. Very punchy. So in the context of this mix, the VCA compressor almost sounds better, in my opinion. So I'll play the FET for you now so you can kind of hear the difference, and you'll hear the difference is just going to be the punchiness for the most part. So the FET sounds more controlled as you're about to hear, but the VCA really punches through. It sounds much more solid and controlled. Almost heavy. Whereas the API 2500 creates very kind of a light, punchy type kick. This creates a very solid, heavy, thuddy kick, which will also punch through the mix as well. So a lot of times it's a matter of personal preference. This is why it's so important to learn the differences between different types of compressors. In that way, your ear will be trained well enough to where you'll kind of know and be able to experiment and figure out what it is that you need to use without it taking all day, obviously. So that's pretty much it as far as these types of compressors are concerned. I'll play each one in the context of the full mix now, so you can hear. And then you'll hear at the end, I've basically just added some EQ and a clipper. So the Cymatics Diablo is great for kicks specifically because it really helps with some of the punchiness. So ultimately, I've decided to go with the FET for the actual mix, along with the clipper to add some punchiness, and I'll let you hear the difference between all three of those. But ultimately, that's about it. These are the two main types of compressors you're going to use on kicks. So I'll go ahead and play these, and then we'll be good to go. With the VCA. FET. Now I'll play sort of what I went with for the final mix, which is the FET compressor, the 76 model, along with the Diablo and an EQ, which is basically, I'll just let you see the curve, just boosting some of the low end, eliminating some of the ticky high end, and then that sort of ending the mix of the kick with that. So this is what it sounds like in context, and yeah. That's the one. Big difference, isn't it? Yeah, so that'll just about do it. Those are really, for the most part, as far as compression is concerned, the basics of what you're going to need to know for kicks specifically. So I know it's been a long time since I've made a video. This channel's been active for a long time with many hiatuses, between videos. But moving forward, I'm going to be posting a lot more. I'm working on a series at this point that's called Why Your Mix Sucks, which is going to go into detail, from attacking it from all different angles, really, as far as how producers underprocess or overprocess their mixes. This is going to focus specifically on like hip hop and EDM. But yeah, I'd stay tuned for more videos. Again, like and subscribe if you want to support the channel. It's very much appreciated. It means a whole lot. And look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. All right. Thanks. Bye.